Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Advent of Code. Let's see. I had a few things to talk about before we got started, I think. First, I assume you figured this out from watching the last one, but I really don't. I don't do these to compete on time. I do like playing them around when they come out when it's convenient, and so this timer will be close to. But there's already it's out. It's been out for 5 minutes. I'm sure there are hundreds of people who've finished it by now. In fact, let's go see. Can I see that? Per day, day 2. 76 people have completed day 1, or part 1. No, I'm not sure. I don't totally understand. 76 people are done with both parts. 100 people are done with the first part. Well, at least 100. So I don't really do that. I am curious though. A friend of mine, yeah, he's doing all right. I watched his part 1, which he also put on YouTube, and it was his day 1 rather, which was a bunch. It took him a while because he's, people who compete to solve these quickly tend to skim, and so skimming over. It was easy to miss the part about the input cycling, and so he spent half of his time stuck on that. But okay, we don't compete for leaderboard. And the other thing is I upgraded my system. You can't even tell. It's amazing. It looks exactly the same as before, but I figured out yes, the default Linux installation for Windows subsystem for Linux is old. It was Ubuntu 14.04, so from 2014. But I was actually I don't remember if I said this last episode. I've been really quite pleasantly surprised with how easy it is to do Linux on Windows now since Microsoft released this thing. I just said I'd like to download Ubuntu 18.04, please, and it said okay, and it went and installed the whole thing for me. And then I said I'd like to make this my default, and it was okay. And then I just copied over my settings, installed the programs again, and now I have a nice Linux distro instead of one that's 4 years old. And so the tools that I was trying to work with before that were busted are working now. It's great. And in particular, I did get the Haskell Emacs integration. Well, there's many such things, but Intero is the thing that I wanted to have but didn't have before. And it's got nice integration, like you can see down here. It sort of automatically suggests things. Yeah, that's not maybe such a helpful type. But you can you what? If I press, what's the type of that? No. So it'll, if you mouse over a token, it'll show you something. But what if I wanted to know the type of this? And it actually just says, oh yeah, there, that thing that you've got selected, that's its type. So types of sub-expressions, even when they're not explicitly listed, is nice. And we've got a REPL inside of Emacs, so we don't necessarily have to leave to play around with things. Or even to run the program, perhaps. Although it's a little bit of a pain to redirect console input, so I probably will go. And I fixed my project setup. Basically, I had installed I used the simple template apparently on purpose because I thought I don't want all this crap that comes in the default stack template. But it turns out that depending on libraries is a thing that's not supported by the simple template. So I was okay, fine, give me the whole app template. And so now I've got a million configuration files, and I've got a source folder and a test folder and an app folder, and I'm just going to put most of the simple stuff in app. Only basically just write a main module and not any others, and ignore the rest of this crap. But at least now it's really easy to get dependencies if I want them. So, all right. And by the way, I changed this. You might have remembered the kind of operator soup we had before of, what would it be? I wrote this. Right, and this has the same type as this thing that I've written here, part 1, triple and part 2, which is basically, well, you can see it's, hello? Yeah, it takes an input and produces int to int. And this does the same, or int, and a tuple of int and int. Yes. And this does something similar, but it's more general for reasons. And I also put in all the project templates a little skeleton that's going to be reasonably applicable to all the projects. We have a part 1 and a part 2, which take some input type and produce something. I've marked it as int here, but we can change it. And a parse function that takes the raw input and turns it into the input type to pass to part 1 and part 2. So I don't have to type this all out every time. And I guess I didn't explicitly say triple ampersand is this function that's in control.arrow that basically like takes two functions and returns a new function which tuples up the result of calling those two functions on the input. So it doesn't super matter. But okay, all that said, oh, and I fixed I can hit meta backspace now. It turns out that the Windows terminal emulator sends meta backspace as like meta control H, because like control H is the key that traditionally was a delete key. So I just told Emacs to pretend that that key is backspace, and now everything's fine. Okay, cool. So let's move on to day 2. Oh, also, no peeking. If you got to day 1's video early, you probably saw that it was like a YouTube premiere. I hadn't tried that feature before, and I thought this would be an interesting chance to try it out. This kind of like, hey, there's a video coming up. You can watch it like, quote, live with other people and chat. I thought that would be interesting, and I decided to give it a try. But like and it was cool to have it like on my channel as like an upcoming release that you could see. But then like, you can't fast forward if I'm saying boring stuff. And they had all this weird like, get ready, the stream is starting animations. And I was like, whatever. So 5 minutes into the premiere, I canceled it and just released the whole video. So I'm not going to do the rest of these as premieres. If you really wish I would, I guess, I don't know, let me know. But I thought it was kind of silly. Okay, now we're moving on to part 2. Day 2, inventory management system. You stop falling through time, catch your breath, and check the screen on the device. Destination reached. Current year 1518. Current location, North Pole Utility Closet 83N10. You made it. Now, to find those anomalies. How long has like the concept of Santa been around anyway? I don't know. We'll see. Outside the utility closet, you hear footsteps and a voice. I'm not sure either, but now that so many people have chimneys, maybe he could sneak in that way. Actually, these are probably elves. Maybe that's a very unnecessarily deep voice for elves. Another voice responds, actually, we've been working... I don't want to do voices for all this dialogue. We've been working on a new kind of suit that would let him fit through tight spaces like that. But I heard that a few days ago they lost the prototype fabric, the design plans, everything. Nobody on the team can even seem to remember important details of the project. Oh, some anomaly must have taken that away. Wouldn't they have had enough fabric to fill several boxes in the warehouse? They'd be stored together, so the box IDs should be similar. Too bad it would take forever to search the warehouse for two similar box IDs. They walk too far away to hear anymore. Late at night, you sneak to the warehouse. Who knows what kinds of paradoxes you could cause if you were discovered. And use your fancy wrist device to quickly scan every box and produce a list of the likely candidates. That's our input. To make sure you didn't miss any, you scan the likely candidate boxes again, counting the number that have an ID containing exactly 2 of any letter, and then separately counting those with exactly 3 of any letter. You can multiply those two counts together to get a rudimentary checksum and compare it to what your device predicts. Okay. All right. So of the box IDs, oh, okay, they're just talking about the sample. So, okay, we need to compute. Wait, and so what do we do? Checksum is just the count, right? Yeah, count how many have each of these things. Got it. So there's 2 properties we want to check on a list of inputs, and then we want to multiply together the counts of how many things have those properties. Easy. So I also updated my Advent of Code input script, and so it does indeed, as we might have hoped, fetch us our inputs directly into a file, so that I don't have to go fiddle with copy and paste. So that's nice. But okay, we don't need that now. What we need is to write a program. What's our input type going to be? It's going to be a list of string. Perfect, right? We just want to read all the IDs. And indeed, parse can just be lines. This is all we need to do. So this part's already written for us. And part 1 indeed returns an int, so I guess that correctly too. So I guess what would be a simple way to write this? I mean, we could write two functions, one which determines whether a string has 2 of a thing and one that says whether it has 3 of a thing. Excuse me, I just had a thought. There must be a Haskell package, right? Can I install that? God, it's so slow loading all the packages. And like, I've actually had Emacs crash looking at the package list for some reason. It makes me very sad. All right, well, we'll get back to you, Emacs. What is there a command line thing? Yeah, sudo apt get install Haskell, please. Yes. So Haskell, let me show you while this is all happening. I just realized I haven't done anything to like. I don't think there's anything incriminating in like any of my browser features, but I don't know. I don't really want to share all my personal stuff, so I'm not going to show you guys my new tab page. Take that. Okay, so here we are at Haskell, which is like Google for Haskell. Haha. And you can search for functions by type, which is amazing. So we're kind of looking for a function that takes, let's say, eq a to list of a to a list of int and a. Like that's, I wish this function existed. Does it exist? Yeah, zip, very funny. Okay. Like in Clojure, this function is called frequencies. What if we like search for ord or something? That's there too. What if I said a and int? I assume it knows that these are basically the same, right? Why is it still loading? My connection was interrupted. A network change was detected. Good heavens. Okay, well, actually, this is kind of, yeah, okay, fine. So there's no function that has exactly the type that I want. What I was hoping for is a function where you can give it a list of things, and it gives you back a list of pairs, things in the list, and how many times they occurred. Data.map, can I like look for that? So what's in here? Because that's sort of what we want. Yeah, I guess, okay. Haskell's still installing, good lord, okay. And the package menu still crashing. All right. So Emacs crashed, we don't know why. But this has happened to me a number of times in Windows, Linux, and never, ever, ever in any other Emacs that I've used. So I'm inclined to blame something about the Windows setup here. I just want, like, yes. I really just want to, like, package install. Is that a thing I can do? Package install. And then I could just type Haskell and package spelled package wrong. Package refresh contents, does that work? When I'm not looking at that list, maybe? Helm Haskell. I don't know what Helm is. I'll give it a try. Okay. So, how does the Hugel function work, please? Haskell Hugel. Hugel? What's the difference? Hugel is an alias for Haskell Hugel. Do a search. When a Haskell Hugel command is non-nil, it runs that. What is my Haskell Hugel command? It's nil, so it would open in the web browser. Interesting. So if I said Hugel for list of a to int, I assume this will give me like length or something. No browser found. Very funny. Okay, whatever. Screw you, Hugel. We'll just use the browser if I want it. Or maybe the command line? Oh gosh, it's installing Haskell system-wide. Stack installs just a local version. But okay, whatever. It's gonna take a while. So we'll just write this function. We'll write a helper function. We'll put this back to undefined. Write a helper function here, which is well, let me instead go check my package list and say I need containers, please. And that should get me data.map. And then, can I load this? Hello? Why am I not in? Oh, I'm not in Terra mode because Emacs crashed, right? Okay, so now, yes, it still loads correctly and I have maps. So what I'd like is a function, I'll call it frequencies, in fact, since that's what it is in Clojure. Frequencies is a function from, provided that A is OR, a list of A to a map from A to int. Frequencies is, well, I guess I need to look up how to use, I bet I can do this with Intero, right? So m dot, can I like, it's in black! Oh, the worst. Is there like a fold map or something? Fold L and fold R. But how do I fix the autocomplete so it's not in black? All right, that's a problem for another time, I guess. Data.map Haskell. Okay, so here we are. Yeah, data map strict. I don't really care which is which, and map exports, re-exports both. So what I'm looking for is ways to construct a map, but like I want to fold it basically. Is a map a monoid? It shouldn't be, right? Oh, it is. But only if the... Really? I see. When you append two maps, what do you get when they override? When they overlap? You just get the one on the right, yeah, I guess. Because monoid only has to be associative, not commutative. Okay. But what I want, like, I know there is a function that, like, lets me do what I want. So insert with. We could recursively do many inserts, but I know there's a better thing here. Alter. Yeah, I don't want to query. Union, no. General combining functions. We can traverse a map, but that's the opposite of what I want. Conversion lists. Submap indexed. I don't. There's a lot going on with maps. Okay, so that, I guess, I feel like there should be some, well, whatever. We'll just do it the not very clever way. And just look at how do you insert, or actually update, I guess is what I want, right? Adjust, so I want update, right? Alter? Alter, like, alter is general enough, but, like, is there something simpler? Updates the value. You take a function from A to maybe A. This allows you, yeah, you can delete if you want. And, oh, but if it is in the map, if it wasn't in the map, then it doesn't get added at all. So that's not what we want. Adjust. This also doesn't do what we want. Okay, am I looking for insert then, or insert? I'm looking for insert with. So we insert with a function combining the new value and the old value. Got it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to say frequencies is equal to fold R of m.insert with plus. Well, what are the arguments? Order of inserts? Yeah. Plus is first, then the key. What's the key? What's the order of arguments for fold R? The new value should be, yeah, the accumulator's on the right. The item you're looking at is on the left. Okay. So what's the type of this? Oh my goodness, that was a long type. No, how do I... That's not a very useful type in Tarot. And we need to start with m.empty. All right, what have I done wrong so far? So much. I'm just trying to be too fancy and like do everything all at once. Okay, so let's demonstrate a way to like do things in Haskell when you don't know what the types should, what exactly how to fill things in, and let the compiler help you. So first of all is like I could just write this as a manually recursive function where I take an input, but I don't think that's really necessary. So what I want to do is I want to fold our sum function, and I don't know what type that function should have yet. Let's just leave that blank. Fold our f, and I know I want to start with an empty map, right? And now I say, hello, what should the type of f be? It should be a function from a and map of int to map of a and int again. And it'll even like, it tells me here, like here's some other functions that I know of that exist that are in scope that could help you make values of the types that you need. so I need to build some function that takes an A. Okay, so I mean m.insert with takes some arguments, right? Like, what's the type of this? Oh my god, what a terrible type. Are you kidding me? I know this doesn't type check, but like, this is the type I want. I don't want that horrible garbage Intero is giving me. Look at this. This is unusable. All right. But fine, here we are. This is just like, this should say A. I don't know why it doesn't. So insert with, and we know we want a plus here. That's pretty clear. And we want 2 more arguments. And then it'll have the types that we want, right? So let's call these arguments x and y. This is mapped from k to int. Integer? That doesn't seem right. All right, I'm not doing it this stupid fold our way anymore. Frequencies x's equals, well, let's just, frequencies equals go, m.empty, there we go. Where go m empty is m, go m x x's equals m.insert with plus, and what are the arguments to insert with? Oh, this is a much better type. It didn't like it because I don't know why. Insert with, okay, so we want the key first, that's x, and then a 1, and then an m. There. So this is a very obviously just a fold over the list, and like I shouldn't have to write it out this way and by hand. But it was kind of awkward to like get the x moved, sort of, so to speak, all the way like to. The types were just a bit weird, so okay. I give up. I'm just going to write it this way. And we can test this with, say, frequencies of 1, 2, 3, 1, 4, well, 5, whatever, 2, 1, 1. And we get back... That is not useful. Right. I need to go this with x's. All right, try again. This is why it would be better if I could just use the standard libraries fold, because it's implemented correctly, unlike folds that I write. All right, but there you go. We get the answer we wanted, right? And then we can just iterate over this and in part 1 and say, is there anything that has a 2 in the second component? Is there anything that has a 3 in the second component? Oh, which reminds me, appears exactly twice or appears exactly 3 times. Okay. Okay, so we'll write a function called has exactly, takes an int, provided the input can be equated, compared for equality, it takes an int and a list of, this is dumb. Okay, I'll just write, yeah, I'll just inline that into part 1. I don't think I'll need that for part 2. So, part 1, Well, first we're going to call frequencies on the input, right? No. We're going to map frequencies over the inputs because we want to compute the frequencies of each word. Having done that, we're going to compose this with something. And okay, having to call two different functions on this it's just going to be easier if I just give everything names. Let freaks equal map frequencies words. Twos equal length of filter any. Any takes a function from A to bool. Okay. Equals to, oops. Okay, so actually what I should do is let's find a little local function here called has which is what we were going to define a minute ago. Has of n equal length, basically this. There. Has 2 3s equal has 3. What else? Oops. I put in too many filters. In 2s times 3s. Oh, freaks, that's right. Wait. Right. Wait, what's wrong with this? So, okay, what is GHC telling me about this? Freaks. It says that I'm treating freaks as though it were a map. Oh, right. I'm filtering it, but actually okay, and really what I want is okay. So the problem was that I was pretending that frequencies was returning a tuple, but a list of tuples, but it wasn't. It was returning a map, right? I happened to only want the input structured as tuples, and then I was getting confused about that. So fine. I had to call map.toList to get out the key value entries. So map this function over words returns to us a list of the frequencies for each word in the input. We define a little function called has, which looks at the frequency tuple listing, filters it to only ones where in the tuple list it's looking at there is any item whose second element is equal to n, and then computes the length of the resulting list. And then we just has 2 and has 3. In fact, we could just this really could just be inlined. And we can like test it now, right? It loads, probably runs, yeah. Stack exec ASC day 02-exe from input.text undefined. Do I have to stack build first? Okay. There we go. 6696. My numpad off? It is. I never turned my numpad off. I don't know how that happened. 6696. That's the right answer. Congratulations. So, let's... Hello? I can't type? There we go. Let's just define... or commit this. Day 2, part 2. All right. And back to the browser. What's part 2? Confident that your list of box IDs is complete, you're ready to find the boxes full of prototype fabric. The boxes will have IDs which differ by exactly one character at the same position in both strings. Okay. Both strings? Okay. Well, so here's a list of some 5-element IDs. A, B, C, D, E are close, but they differ by 2 characters. So in... Yeah. Okay, so we're not going to reuse frequencies at all in this. It's like completely different. Okay, so we're... Interesting. All right. So first off, 250. So 250 squared is like kind of large, but not actually all that big. So one simple solution would be to just compare each string against each other string. And count the number of differences. And when that difference is 1, we will return the result. Right? Is there some way we could be more clever? It's not so clear to me, right? You can't just like sort them and compare pairwise, because if they differ in the first element, they won't be next to each other. You can use the frequencies mapping to guide you somehow, but I don't actually see how. I guess, yeah, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll just do it the dumb way, I guess. So let's see, we want to... let's put this back to undefined for a minute and define a little helper function we're going to use called match. Match of xy equals well, let's say match of 2 empty strings is false. Actually, if either string is empty, it should be false. So I'm going to write a recursive function here that will look through a string. Well, we can do better than that, right? Yeah, we don't have to scan the strings one at a time, or one character at a time by hand. What we can do is zip them together element-wise and test whether they're zip them like with equality, and then count the number of falses in the list, and it should be 1. And then they match, right? So let's do this a bit better. Match equals equals length length of filter not actually of zip width equal xy, right? So say we did that, and like let's go put this in the REPL real quick. On A, B, C, D, and A, F, E, D. We should get back true, false, false, true. Illegal. This is what happens when you don't give your functions types. Is Haskell infers some type. But that type is incorrect. And then when you try to use it, it's like, oh, you... All right, why? What's the type of match, please? List of A and list of A to bool. Well, that can't be right. It should have some sort of equality, right? Zip width equal of x and y, that's bool. Like, that makes sense. So that's a list of bools. And then we filter not, which will keep only the falses. We get the length of that, and we check whether it's equal to 1. This looks right to me. Oh, did I copy this wrong somehow? Oh, right, I have to, okay. This has... Oh, I copied the x and y. Whereas what I meant to do was this. And we get false. Oh, right. We don't return the actual list. But if I change this to B, it's true, because they differ only in the third position. Okay, so I actually did have the right type. I just copied incorrectly. Well, that's nice to know. We'll get the mouse out of there. I don't know how long you guys have been staring at that mouse. We don't use the mouse on this channel. This is a keyboard only stream. So then what we can do is just say, well, first of all, it doesn't return a string, an int, it returns a string. Part 2 of words. Let's say word more is so I want to check word against every word in more and see if they match. So let's do that. Map match word over more. Let matches equal this. And now we have a list of, for each word, whether they match. And in fact, I don't want to map, I want to filter. And now I have just a list of the words that match. And it's probably empty. Actually, we can do better than that. We can say case of. So case is Haskell's, like, it does the same kind of pattern matching as a function definition is allowed to do. So what I can say is, if that filter was empty, then simply return part2 of more. Otherwise, probably there was only one match. There shouldn't be two. So we'll call this hit to be how do you where is cat maybes? Is it in data.maybe or it's inferred that it must have type string because I'm returning it. Very funny. Did that work? Yes. Now it now it knows cat maybes has the wrong type. It's a real function. Okay. So what I'm going to do is say cat maybes. Now I have the word that matched, right? And I just want to drop out the one letter that didn't match. And so I'm going to zip with trim cat maybes of zip with trim of word and hit, where trim of x, y, and x is equal to y equals just x, and otherwise is nothing. So we're going to, for each character in each pair of characters in the two words, we're going to return maybe a character. If those two characters are the same, we will return them. The one character which is the same as the other. And otherwise we will return nothing. And then cat maybes will take that list of maybes, as you can see at the bottom, and turn it into a list of characters, throwing away all the nothings. And so we have a few cases in our part 2, where part 2 is now what we call a partial function. There are some inputs where it won't produce a result of type string, because I haven't told it how to. First, if a word matches more than one other word, we don't handle that case. Second, if there are no words at all that match, we fail. So really, we should be more honest and say this returns maybe a string. And there we go. So if in the two error cases we couldn't handle, we return a nothing. And this way, our function is truly honest. For any possible list of strings you could give it, it will return some result. And that result is either just the thing you were looking for, or it's nothing. It won't ever produce a runtime error. Okay, so does this run and compile successfully and do good things? It does. How do you... I hate Windows terminals still. So we paste this in here. That's the right answer. Congratulations. We did it. So let's go look at the calendar. It's sort of shaping up into some sort of elf hat, maybe? I don't know. And what to do? Some final cleanup, I guess. Git add p. Just make sure everything in the source file is how I meant it to be. Yep. Git commit -m day 2 part 2. So, is there anything we want to revisit, look back over, clarify further, stuff like that? Well, overall, I'd say it seems like a pretty reasonable implementation. I do feel like frequencies really should have been... It could have... there should be a fold map or something that would do this. And I know that I think in Advent of Code 2017, I had written a frequencies function that I just like imported regularly. And I don't remember it being quite this weird, but okay, it is. So in case it wasn't clear when I was explaining this, is insert with, we're saying please insert into the map M. Please insert the pair x comma 1, saying I found one instance of x in the list. However, if you have a conflict and there's already an entry for x, please add together the thing I'm adding with the thing that's already there, incrementing it by 1 instead. So that's how we did a frequencies check. But this is like very clearly a fold. It's just that like this function here is a little bit awkward to, you just like have to make a lambda basically, and then it's like, I don't know, what's the point really? I guess we could try another implementation. We could say frequencies is foldr f. Let's try this again. I know I did this earlier and it didn't work very well. Foldr of f on m.empty. And that's pretty clear. F just has to have this type. So let's define a function that takes 2 arguments, lambda xm. This is how you define a function inline. This backtick is red lambda. It is a function, a local function, taking the arguments x and m and returning yeah. So actually there was kind of nothing to it here, but I got caught up in trying to define this lambda in a fancier way, because really it's almost, if you could just partially apply m.insert with and then flip it and then partially apply 1, I think you'd get there, right? Couldn't we do foldr of flip m.insert with of plus 1? Yes. So this is the point-free short condensed definition, right? Flip takes a function from a to b to c and returns a function of b to a to c. Sort of flips the order of its 2 arguments. And so the problem was I kind of wanted to just say m.insert with plus and 1 and say that's the function you should use. But you can't do that because it doesn't take the 1 argument after the plus argument. It takes x. And so you have to apply it to plus, yielding a function that wants x1 and then m, and then flip that, yielding a function that wants x1 then x then m. Then you partially apply 1, and now it just wants x and m, which is perfect. That's the kind of function that foldr wants. So, I think this definition is the best one of the 3. It's not as long and laborious and repetitive as this one, but it has little, even these very short variable names make it much more clear what's going on than this weird flip nonsense. And so I'm going to leave all 3 of these in the source. I wouldn't recommend this if you're writing a real program. Just commit whichever one's good, commit them all, and then erase them, or whatever. Version history will be there for you. But for sort of instructional purposes, I'll just leave the 3 definitions in. And whoops, I forgot to add input.text. I'll do that in a minute. Get minute-m day 2 part 2. Oh, actually it's a part 1 edit. Alternate implementations of frequencies. And now let's add the input.text and add input.text. And let's reorder our commits here so I can pretend I did that first. That doesn't look right. Why does it say day 2 part 2? Did I type that wrong? For part 2, day 2. And I guess this was day 2 part 1, right? Yeah, so git show of this. Yeah, this was clearly day 2 part 1. I just gave it the wrong commit message, I think. Right? Yes. Cool. All right. So that's it for today's Advent of Code. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.